Good morning. Thank you for joining us for this week's Messiah Minutes. Please continue to like this and share this. And personally, I just want to say thank you for all the wonderful comments about my message this past Sunday. It's very much appreciated, so thank you for that. Please continue to work on the challenge that I issued on Sunday. Remember spend your first 5 minutes of your day in total silence, no phones, no news, no anything except the presence of God. Work on your holy no. Hopefully you've had a chance since Sunday to look at your calendars and try and find one good thing that is taking away some of your peace. So practice saying no, a grace-filled no to that, to kind of create a gap for rest in your schedule. And then the digital Sabbath. Hopefully you've picked a 4-hour window this week when you can power everything down and just reconnect with your Father and your family without all the noise of the digital world. So I hope you've done that. I challenge you to that. I want to continue. Last week we talked about how we can win the morning by making some changes and some different choices in our schedules. A little bit of what I challenged you with during the sermon on Sunday. The first 5 kind of correlates to that. Spend your first 5 minutes of your day getting your mind right and focusing on the Father, showing Him that you trust Him more than you trust your busy schedule, and show Him that He's in control of not just your time, but of everything. We looked at 3 things that we can learn from Jeremiah in the book of Lamentations. The first being that God's compassion never fails, and it is new every single morning. We talked about that. Then we looked at how Jeremiah uses the reminder every morning to remind himself of how great God's faithfulness truly is. And then we saw that he reminds himself that the Lord is his portion, and that is what we should be serving. That is what we should be waiting for, and with expectation. We should be waiting for the Lord's portion, which I talked a little bit about on Sunday as well. Martha learned that Mary had chosen the good portion, and that Jesus said it would not be taken away from her. So it's kind of, as we've been talking about, it's about what you say to yourself. What do you say to yourself in the morning? Are you starting your day off with these holy reminders that of who God is and what He's going to do for you, what He promises you? Or are you starting your day off being anxious and worrying and thinking about your never-ending to-do list? So I was talking to Ashley yesterday. As you know, Ashley records all these for us. Thank you, Ashley, for doing that. And I was talking to her about how I believe the Lord is kind of wrapping up this teaching series. He's leading me down a couple other paths that I think we're going to get into soon. I guess it's good. It's been probably almost a year that we've been talking about holding our thoughts captive, but I don't think the Holy Spirit's quite done. There's still a couple things that we have to unpack here. So I want to take a look at our main scripture that we've talked about over the past 10 months or so, 2 Corinthians 10, 3 through 5. For though we live in the world, we do not wage war as the world does. The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. And we demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. So today, we're gonna talk about something that I hope is not a spoiler for you. I don't want to ruin the ending for you, but you are going to die. I will too. We all are going to die someday. It's a well-known fact that most people are very uncomfortable talking about this topic. We don't like to think about it. We don't like to talk about it either. We don't like to talk about it so much, we've kind of created other ways to talk about it, so we don't have to actually mention the word death. We tell all our friends that someone has passed away, or somebody has gone to the other side, kicked the bucket, bought the farm, swimming with the fishes, or pushing up daisies. We've come up with all these clever things to say because the word death seems so very final to us. So we've created lots of different ways to say it. But death is not final. So unless we start thinking about death, then we won't be able to quite think right about our life. Death is a doorway. What you do in this life is preparation for the next one. Death is just how you pass from one to the other. See, the problem with not thinking about death is it has caused us almost entirely to only think about life. We've been talking about our thoughts, and I've been challenging you to re-examine the way you think about things. I would be willing to bet that most of your attention is spent thinking about life before death instead of life after death. And I don't think that's a very wise way to think about things. James 4:14 says, "Why? You do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes." So I want you to do an experiment today, or do it sometime this week. I want you to walk into your bathroom, grab your can of Febreze or your Glade or whatever it is you use, spray it in the air. You can spray it a few times. You can just hold on to that thing and squeeze that trigger for a whole solid minute if you want. And then I want you to watch how quickly it disappears. That is what James says our life is like. So why are we spending so much time thinking about the mist instead of thinking about eternity? You see, if we can focus on eternity first, then everything else will line up. It's like buttoning up a dress shirt, right? If you start with the top button, then everything else kind of falls into place as you work your way down. But if you don't pay any attention and you just start buttoning wherever, then none of the other buttons line up properly. So if we intentionally think about eternity first, then many of our other thoughts will line up the way they should. See, the thought patterns of this world are always focused on what's happening around us. But to be focused on eternity instead causes us not to look at what's in front of us, but it causes us to look past it and look at everything that is happening. It causes us to think about the big picture, right? And see the truth about a situation. Maybe it's a situation that makes us anxious. Maybe it's a relationship that's making us insecure. Maybe it's these screens that we have that are constantly screaming for our attention. Maybe it's the state of our finances that have us in this despair. Maybe it's the pleasure of the moment that we're tempted to live for and always want. I don't know what it is, but I guarantee you that no matter if you die when you're 40 years old or you die when you're 80 years old, the time here is short in comparison to eternity. When you've been in heaven for 10,000 years, I doubt we're going to look back at this time frame and think there's much a difference between 40 and 80. They're both going to be vapors, very short in comparison. Psalm 90, verse 12 says, "Teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom." And this psalm is Moses' prayer. And it calls us to have this meaningful, reflecting attitude on God's grace, and helps us to kind of manage time effectively rather than with anxiety. Understand that we have no idea when our time is going to come. We have absolutely no idea. But we do know what is coming. And therefore we need to live with that mindset, with the end in mind. Colossians 3, 2-4. "Set your minds on things above, not on earthly things. For you died, and your life is now hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is your life, appears, then you also will appear with him in glory." See, Paul is encouraging us to think about our thinking, which we've been doing. We've been talking about that. But not so much about the now. Paul is telling us instead we need to start focusing on what comes next, the next chapter. And if we can do that now, then we're going to have the right thoughts about what's going on in the world around us. "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." You see, if we can turn our focus to eternity, then we will begin to align ourselves with the Father's will, his good and pleasing will. So that's my prayer for you this week. I know it's not something we like to talk about and not something we like to do, but I challenge you to do that. I challenge you to keep working on your challenge from Sunday, the first 5, the Holy No, the digital Sabbath, but I also challenge you to spend time thinking about eternity, thinking about the next chapter, because it doesn't end with death. It begins. So start thinking about that. Remember, this is just a short vapor, and death is our doorway to eternity. I'm so excited and looking forward to that and spending it with you. I want you to be focusing on that instead of what's going on in your life. If you can do that, It changes everything. So that's my prayer for you this week. Let's get into some announcements. We have the Single Ladies Bible Study is going on again. It started last week, and that's every Monday at 6 p.m. We have tonight, Tuesday, we have the food pantry. The Heart to Hands food pantry is tonight from 4 to 5:30. We also have men's Bible study at 6, women's Bible study at 6, and life recovery at 6:30. Tomorrow we have our Next Gen gathering at 6 in the gym. Please continue to sign up for meals for that. Thank you all that have served with that and donated to that. You guys are amazing, so just continue to do that. It is very much appreciated. We also have our midweek service, adult midweek service tomorrow at 6:30. And then Saturday, this Saturday, it's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. But we have the Revive Ohio Logan County Outreach is meeting where the church meets, which is at 136 South Sandusky in Rushsylvania, and that's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then we have our regular scheduled programming Sunday morning. We have Sunday school, young adult Sunday school, and then we have church at 10:30. We have a message this week from our newly appointed Church of God state pastor, the Reverend Dr. Melissa Pratt. She'll be here to preach our message, so please come to that. And then also we have some other announcements. If you want to serve BFCOG, check out our volunteer opportunities that's on the website, and you can log into that and check to see what we have to offer. Also, mark your calendars. I think Abby talked about it a little bit at the end of service this past week. But March 15th, we're going to be hosting our Connect 101 kind of like job fair here Sunday morning before service. So it's just a way for us to promote and inform the whole congregation, everybody that comes, all about all the different ministries we have here at the church. So please come to that. And again, that's March 15th. Thank you guys for watching. Like, share. Appreciate you. Hope to see you sometime this week. Thanks, guys. Love you.